When you stand atop York's ancient walls in northern England, you occupy the same ground where Roman sentries stood guard almost 2 millennia ago. The narrow lanes of the shambles trace routes originally established by Viking settlers. Every stone you touch in the minster connects you to a structure that required 2.5 centuries to build. Here is a city that has defied extinction. Within these fortifications, emperors have met their end. From this very place, monarchs have governed England. Military forces have laid siege to its gates. Disease has swept through its streets. Aerial bombardment has rained down upon it. Yet, through every trial, York has persevered. The documentary you're about to witness differs from conventional historical presentations. Through sophisticated artificial intelligence technology, we have breathed life into ancient engravings and aging photographs, transforming them into vivid, dynamic scenes. You will not merely study York's history, you will witness it as it truly unfolded. Welcome to York's story, 28 minutes encompassing 2,000 years. Our journey starts at the very beginning. The year is 71 AD. Deep into hostile British territory, the Roman 9th Legion pursues tribal forces refusing Roman authority. At a strategic junction where the Ouse meets the Fosse, 2 rivers converge. Here, the Legion halts, establishing permanent position rather than temporary rest. A fortress rises from the ground. Timber fortifications appear first, followed by stone construction. The Romans name it Eboracum. For the 9th Legion, York becomes their permanent base. 5,000 battle-tested veterans who served throughout the empire call this place home. They construct bathhouses alongside barracks, temples next to administrative complexes. This settlement exceeds temporary military occupation. A city is being born. Yet something mysterious occurs that continues to baffle scholars centuries later. During the early 120s, the 9th Legion disappears without trace. 5,000 soldiers, their standards, their documentation, all erased from historical record. Their destination remains unknowable. The 6th Legion arrives as replacement forces, maintaining presence in York for 3 subsequent centuries. Eboracum evolves beyond its original function as frontier fortification. It ascends to far greater significance. The year 211 AD sees Emperor Septimius Severus reach York, following campaigns against Scottish tribes. Aged, weary, and failing in health, he breathes his final breath within this city positioned at his empire's furthest edge. His successor Caracalla, now standing in York, reaches a momentous conclusion. This northern stronghold, this distant fortress, becomes the administrative center of Britannia Inferior. From York, governance extends across half of Roman Britain. Then arrives the pivotal moment that transforms everything. When Emperor Constantius dies in York during 306 AD, his troops waste no time proclaiming his son Constantine as their new ruler. Constantine's legacy extends far beyond mere governance. He transforms the Roman Empire fundamentally. Christianity receives legal recognition under his rule, bringing centuries of persecution to an end. Imperial power relocates to Constantinople as he restructures the entire governmental framework. Western civilization pivots around decisions made by someone whose reign originates right here in York. His statue stands today just outside York Minster, commemorating this legacy. By 314, York's bishop participates in church councils held in Arles. Christianity has moved beyond simple tolerance to become institutional authority. This city, born as military installation, has evolved into a nucleus of religious devotion and imperial control. A century later, when Rome finally abandons Britain, humanity's greatest empire begins its collapse. York, however, refuses to vanish alongside it. The Roman fortifications begin deteriorating. Stone gets repurposed for new construction projects. Carefully engineered streets become buried beneath mud and fresh development. Yet the population endures. The Anglo-Saxons do not seize an empty settlement. They inherit an existing city, reshape it according to their vision, and claim it as their own. Eboracum transforms into Eoforwix. For 200 years, York adjusts to existence in the post-Roman era. Then, on Easter Sunday in 627, King Edwin of Northumbria, a pagan warrior whose entire life revolved around power struggles, enters a modest wooden church in York and submits to baptism. While one individual's conversion might appear insignificant, Edwin holds royal authority. Royal conversions trigger kingdom-wide transformations. Across Northumbria, Christianity spreads with remarkable speed, and York emerges as its central point. The humble wooden church witnessing Edwin's baptism will ultimately become the Minster. This evolution, however, will require centuries to complete. By 735, York's bishop receives elevation to archbishop status. York now stands equal to Canterbury in ecclesiastical importance. England no longer possesses a single Christian headquarters. Two centers now exist, and York claims one position. The city then produces an intellect destined to influence European intellectual development for generations to come. Alcuin assumes leadership of York's school in 778. Under his stewardship, it becomes among Europe's most distinguished learning institutions. Monks journey from distant corners of the continent to pursue studies here. When Charlemagne requires someone to oversee education throughout his extensive realm, his choice falls upon Alcuin from York. These years represent York's intellectual pinnacle. As much of Europe struggles through the darkness following Rome's collapse, York maintains the flame of scholarship and knowledge. Across the North Sea, however, other warriors are constructing vessels and honing their weapons. Stories of English monasteries' wealth have reached them. Tales of gold within churches, of riches awaiting seizure. Their arrival is inevitable, and nothing can prevent it. November 866. Through the pre-dawn gloom, longships navigate up the Ouse. Hundreds of Norse warriors, both Danish and Norwegian, comprise the great heathen army that has already ravaged eastern England. Before sunrise breaks, they encircle the city completely. The Anglo-Saxon defenders find themselves hopelessly outmatched. As darkness falls, Vikings control the entire settlement. Their occupation will extend nearly a full century. They rechristened it Jorvik. Their presence extends beyond simple occupation. They undertake complete reconstruction. This represents colonization rather than temporary raiding. Viking families establish permanent residences. Craftsmen establish workshops throughout the city. Merchants create trade networks linking York with Dublin, with Scandinavia, with the broader Norse sphere. Excavations at Coppergate during the 1970s reveal Viking-era streets preserved so remarkably that leather from workshops, timber from structures, even plant seeds from gardens survive a millennium beneath the earth. Jorvik rises to become one of the Viking world's most significant urban centers. At peak population, perhaps 10,000 souls inhabit it, an enormous number for that period. Local mint facilities produce coins here bearing the names of Viking monarchs largely forgotten by history. The city buzzes with commercial activity. Metalworkers, jewelers, woodcarvers, and leather craftsmen all practice their skills along narrow thoroughfares. Viking governance, however, proves unstable and brutal. Rulers ascend and fall with regularity. The final Viking king bears a name that reveals everything about Norse culture: Eric Bloodaxe. His actual name, earned through acts of savagery. During 954, Eric perishes in combat, and York's Viking kingdom expires with him. For a brief interval, York returns to English control. The Anglo-Saxons reclaim what was once theirs. This peaceful period lasts precisely 100 years. 1066, the year that rewrites English history entirely. Norwegian Vikings arrive first, attempting to reclaim their ancestors' lost territories. King Harold Godwinson marches northward and confronts them at Stamford Bridge, just beyond York's boundaries. He achieves total victory. The Viking era reaches its conclusion. Harold celebrates his triumph within York. He has rescued the city, secured the north. Then urgent messengers arrive bearing terrible intelligence. William of Normandy has landed on southern shores with invasion forces. Harold must return south without delay. He marches 200 miles in just 4 days, arrives at Hastings in complete exhaustion, and falls there with an arrow piercing his eye. Or thus the legend claims. William achieves victory, and York is about to discover that Norman authority will prove harshest yet. William of Normandy, subsequently known as William the Conqueror, enters York in 1068. Surveying the city that has withstood Roman legions and Viking armies, he issues a single directive: construct me a fortress. York Castle's foundation gets laid, and William stations garrison forces there to ensure the city remembers England's new master. The people of York, however, harbor different intentions. In 1069, they mount rebellion. They forge alliance with Danish invasion forces, assault the castle, and massacre every Norman defender inside. William's response proves merciless. He returns with his army and unleashes what history knows as the harrying of the North. His forces burn every village, slaughter livestock, destroy crops, and murder civilians by the thousands. Entire regions become wastelands. People starve throughout the following winter. Bodies pile in streets. Some estimates suggest 100,000 die across northern England. York submits. It has no alternative. William constructs a second castle across the river. 2 fortresses now dominate the city. Norman authority becomes absolute. York endures, but its population shrinks drastically. The city that once thrived now barely functions. Yet slowly, painfully, it rebuilds itself. By 1190, York's Jewish community has grown substantial and prosperous. They serve as moneylenders since Christian law prohibits Christians from charging interest. This makes them essential yet deeply resented. On the night of March 16, 1190, mob violence erupts throughout the city. Jewish families flee to York Castle, seeking royal protection. The mob follows them there. For days, they remain besieged. Food runs out, hope vanishes. Rather than face the mob, many families make an unbearable decision. They die by their own hands. Those who surrender expecting mercy discover none exists. The mob massacres them. At least 150 souls perish. Some historians believe the true number exceeds 300. This represents one of medieval England's darkest atrocities. York bears this shame in its history forever. The city continues, however. The minster undergoes expansion. Gothic architecture transforms it into the magnificent structure we recognize today. But construction extends over centuries. The Great East Window, containing the world's largest medieval stained glass expanse, achieves completion in 1408. Then, 140 years later, England tears itself apart over religion. Henry VIII breaks with Rome in 1534. Monasteries across England face destruction. York watches as Henry's commissioners dismantle centuries of religious life. St. Mary's Abbey, once among England's wealthiest monasteries, becomes ruins. Its stones get taken for other construction. Its monks are scattered. Centuries of worship and learning end abruptly. What Henry begins, his daughter Mary attempts to reverse. She restores Catholic worship and begins executing Protestants for heresy. On March 11, 1556, Thomas Percy climbs the scaffold in York's marketplace. He is the 7th Earl of Northumberland, and he has chosen to die rather than accept Protestant rule. His crime is simple. He remains Catholic in Protestant England. He approaches death with courage. The executioner's axe falls. His head becomes displayed on a spike as warning to other Catholics. Percy becomes a martyr to some, a traitor to others. The divisions run deep. Elizabeth I ascends to the throne in 1558 and establishes Protestant settlement. York must adjust once more, but Catholics refuse to surrender hope. 1605, the Gunpowder Plot. Guy Fawkes, educated in York, stands among the conspirators planning to annihilate King James and Parliament. The plot fails. Fawkes gets tortured and executed. But York remains connected to this most infamous conspiracy in English history. Religious violence finally subsides, but political conflict replaces it. 1644, England experiences civil war again. Monarchy confronts Parliament. Royalist faces Roundhead. York declares allegiance to King Charles I, and Parliament dispatches an army to force the city into submission. 20,000 men lay siege to York for 11 weeks. Within the fortifications, food supplies become exhausted. Citizens starve. Disease proliferates. Royalists attempt breaking the siege at Marston Moor, just outside the city, in one of England's largest battles. They suffer complete annihilation. 4,000 Royalists perish in a single afternoon. York surrenders unconditionally. The monarch will lose his head within 5 years. The age of absolute monarchy approaches its end, and York stands exhausted from centuries of warfare. Military conflicts, religious struggles, political upheavals. The city requires peace. Finally, peace arrives. The 18th century brings greater calm, but York still commands public attention. April 7, 1739. Dick Turpin ascends the gallows ladder at Knavesmire, York's execution grounds. Turpin works as a highwayman, a thief, likely a murderer, but death transforms him into legend. The tale about his ride from London to York in one night aboard his horse, Black Bess. Complete fabrication invented by a novelist decades after Turpin's execution. Yet the legend persists. Reality proves less romantic. Turpin is simply a criminal who gets captured, and York executes him for his crimes. Thousands gather to witness his death. Public executions serve as entertainment in Georgian England. Turpin reportedly faces his end with bravery, but bravery alone does not confer nobility. It merely demonstrates courage. 6 years later, York's gallows remain active again. 22 Jacobite rebels meet execution here following Bonnie Prince Charlie's unsuccessful attempt to restore a Catholic Stuart to the throne. The 1745 rebellion has come dangerously close to success, but ultimately it fails. The York executions deliver an unmistakable message about rebellion's cost. The city is transforming, however. The violence and conflict of previous centuries fade into the past. York becomes fashionable, a destination where Georgian aristocracy gather for horse racing, theatrical performances, and social gatherings. The ancient settlement discovers a fresh identity. Before this transformation completes, however, the minster will face fire from an internal threat. Music, February 1st, 1829. Jonathan Martin conceals himself within York Minster as evening worship concludes. He waits in shadows while the final priests depart, while doors receive locks, while silence descends upon the cathedral. Then he emerges carrying candles, prayer books, and an unshakable conviction that divine command requires him to burn the minster down. He accumulates cushions and wooden benches beneath the choir stalls and ignites them. Fire spreads rapidly. By the time discovery occurs, flames consume the choir roof completely. the minster burns throughout the night. Medieval roof timbers, carved choir furnishings, centuries of masterful craftsmanship, all reduced to ashes. Martin receives capture, receives declaration of insanity, and receives confinement. The minster undergoes reconstruction, emerging more magnificent than before. The message remains clear, however. Even throughout the peaceful 19th century, York's treasures remain vulnerable. 1830 brings something innovative. The Yorkshire Museum, constructed in Greek Revival architectural style within St. Mary's Abbey ruins. For the first time, York approaches its past as something requiring preservation, scholarly study, and public celebration. But 1839 changes everything fundamentally. Railway service arrives in York, bringing with it George Hudson. Hudson lacks birthright wealth or inherited power. He is a draper's son who becomes the railway king. He transforms York into the hub of his railway empire, and the city experiences explosive growth. Railway workshops provide employment for thousands, new stations appear, hotels multiply, warehouses proliferate. Population surges dramatically. Suddenly, London lies 5 hours distant instead of 2 days away. Manchester becomes accessible. The ancient city that spent centuries in relative isolation now connects to the entire nation. Tourists arrive in streams. Middle-class families who can afford weekend excursions to observe medieval fortifications and the minster. York has fulfilled many roles across the centuries. Roman military stronghold, Viking capital city, royal seat of authority. Now it transforms into something different. A tourist attraction, a destination where visitors come to witness history rather than create it. The transformation has only begun. 1938, York Castle Museum opens its entrance and visitors traverse a reconstructed Victorian thoroughfare called Kirkgate. Authentic goods fill shop displays. Gaslighting illuminates cobblestones. It becomes an immediate sensation. York no longer simply preserves history. It resurrects it experientially. Unfortunately for York, it cannot escape World War II's devastation. 29th of April, 1942. Air raid sirens wail throughout York at 2:30 in the morning. Citizens stumble from their beds, bewildered. Why would German forces bomb York? No factories operate here, no military targets of significant value exist. They fail to comprehend. This represents cultural warfare, not military strategy. Germans designate them Baedeker raids, named after the German tourist guidebook. Hitler has commanded his Luftwaffe to bomb Britain's most historic urban centers as revenge for RAF strikes on German cultural locations. York, with its medieval thoroughfares and ancient minster, presents a perfect target. Bomber aircraft arrive in successive waves. Incendiary bombs descend by the hundreds, designed to initiate fires that will spread through timber structures. The Guildhall, standing since the 15th century, burns completely to the ground. Medieval houses catch fire row after row. The sky glows with orange luminescence. The minster should burn. Incendiary devices land upon its roof. Yet volunteer firefighters, ordinary civilians, ascend to the roof midst an ongoing air raid and extinguish fires before they can spread further. They preserve it. When dawn breaks and the all-clear signal sounds, 92 people lie dead. Hundreds face homelessness, and extensive sections of medieval York smolder in ruins. The minster, however, remains standing. York rebuilds itself once more. It grows in ways that would have seemed impossible a century earlier. 1963 sees the University of York founded, bringing thousands of students to a city perpetually focused on history. Now, it contemplates the future actively. 1 year later, the National Railway Museum opens its doors. celebrating York's Victorian transformation and becoming one of Britain's most frequented museums. Then, in 1984, the Jorvik Viking Center opens its doors, utilizing incredible discoveries from archaeological excavations in 1979 to reconstruct Viking-era York. Visitors can traverse reconstructed thoroughfares, observe animatronic Vikings performing their work, even experience what 10th century York smelled like through time. History transcends mere reading material. It becomes something you can experience directly here in York. Tragedy has not finished with the city yet. Later, that same year in 1984, another conflagration breaks out within the minster. Lightning strikes during a tempest, and the south transept roof becomes engulfed in flames. Some individuals claim this represents divine judgment. The Church of England has just consecrated a bishop whose theological positions some find controversial. Others attribute it to unfortunate coincidence. Regardless of cause, the minster burns yet again, and York repairs it yet again, exactly as occurred after Jonathan Martin's arson attempt earlier. 2,000 years, 70 generations, one city. This city has borne witness to humanity's finest achievements and gravest atrocities. Constantine's transformative vision, Viking innovative spirit, medieval academic excellence, unspeakable acts of violence, unbreakable religious faith, the courage demonstrated by a butcher's wife, the determination of firefighters rescuing the minster while bombs rained around them. If York claims you as its own, this heritage belongs to you. This represents what your city has endured and accomplished. If York is unfamiliar to you, you have just learned why this city holds significance, not merely to England, but to Western civilization's entire narrative. Through every trial, York has survived, subsequently thrived. History is not simply past events. It represents forces that molded us. York has influenced more historical development than nearly any British city. If this journey resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to Andrew Restores History for more complete historical narratives. Do not forget to comment below regarding the city you would love to see explored next, and it might just appear in our upcoming video. Thank you for watching, and as always, we will see you in the next one.